What's going on, everybody? Non here, and hopefully you enjoyed the thumbnail. I thought it was amusing. Um, yeah, this is a completely non-political video, uh, but there's a lot of politics in this industry, especially when it comes to dealing with your distributors. And I do want to talk about black and white because we got some early allocations and indications, and today, we have some information that I want to share with everybody. Um, but I've seen multiple people now in a public forum complain about how distribution this, distribution that, and then all of a sudden they have their allocations cut versus prior products. Um, I know for one, for one, you know, the folks that work at distro, they're people too, and this isn't meant to be preachy, but your sales rep and my sales rep want to sell me as much product as they can and I can take because they're commission based. The fact that they can, it's not their fault. It's not their manager's fault. It's not the distributor's fault. It's just the world that we live in. So if you've built your business and you're relying on X amount of product for one set and you haven't diversified across multiple games or different activities in your store, that's not Pokemon's fault. It's not the distributor's fault. It's your fault for being a shitty business person. And that's pretty much it. And if you don't like it, it's too bad. But one thing that's not going to help you is getting on YouTube and complaining that you have to pay $65 for ETBs, or getting on Twitter and saying, so and so's a scumbag and we're now um, a pallet less than what we got for prismatic evolutions. People see this, people read it, and people get upset and pissed off because if one of my distributors is kind enough to give me a product that I can turn around and I can flip for 30% almost instantly in this market, and I'm that distributor, I'm expecting my customers to be thankful because that's the world I live in. Because my distro doesn't have to sell to me. They can sell to 17,000 other people that are happy to take the product right now. So it's a short way of saying it's a tough market. Nobody in distribution is having fun right now. These are all difficult conversations because look, most of the people in the TCG world don't really have any idea how to run business. They don't have any business etiquette. They don't have training in business. They run TCGs because they like card games and they don't like working for people, or they're not functional working for people. And that's not to insult folks. It's a different niche of people than the corporate world, for example, or the professional world. So when you're talking to your rep on the other line and you didn't get all the Final Fantasy collector boxes, or you ordered 1,000 ETBs of Black Bolt, but you've only ever gotten 20 ETBs of something, don't get all pissed off that you're only going to get 20 ETBs or 25 or 15. Just be happy you got what you got, because things are going to start turning in September here, and things are going to go back to normal. And when you can buy 200 boxes and sell them for $120 and you're paying $95, are you going to cash in on that? Or all of a sudden, nah, I can't make 100%, so I'm going to pass? Because that's the reason why you're struggling as a business, because you got to take the good with the bad, and you have to make hay while the sun shines, but you also have to figure out a way to survive and make ends meet when things slow down, and they inevitably will. But again, a little bit of a long-winded way of saying now, don't air your grievances on YouTube. Everybody looks at them and you look like an idiot. Just saying. And I'm not putting that at anybody, or I'm not pointing at anybody in general, but I've heard comments from folks in distribution like, hey, did you see this video? Like, why is he talking about us in public? Like, we're going to shut you down. Like, that, it doesn't help your case. I know you guys are talking to your audience, but as the kids say, the wall's heavier. So that being said, if you're a large store, distribution is absolutely taking some of your product and handing it to smaller stores. I've had that happen with my biggest distributor 2 sets in a row now, where I've gotten cut pretty significantly. And the answer is, look, we're trying to get everybody 2 cases of product. It is what it is. I can't sit here and complain about it. Why would I spend any energy on it? I think it's as much as, I would like making 10% more money. If you're a big store and you got a pallet less and you're only making 200 grand instead of 300 grand on a set, nobody's going to shed a tear for you. Yeah, keep your mouth shut because nobody cares. That being said, let's move into a little bit more positive part of this, the art of the deal with distribution. Don't call them out on YouTube. Don't call them out in any public exchange. Feel free to have conversations with them behind closed doors, and you can have serious conversations with them. But at the end of the day, they're not going to help you if they don't like you. And if you're yelling at them, they're not going to help you. So, just a little bit of a pro tip, like just be cognizant. And again, it's a human being on the other line. The second part of the art of the deal is buy all the products that they're giving you, whether the price is good, whether the price is bad. I can't tell you how much stuff that we bought that was at or slightly above market, and you just smile and you move on. Now you have to make sure you have enough liquidity to do it, but in this industry, or in at this point in time in the industry where virtually every game is booming, if you're not making money and you don't have some cash set aside, just close your doors and get a job, because it's never going to happen. And when things slow, you're just not going to be here. So moving to black and white. So as some of you may have heard, and I've mentioned this in the past, there are certain distributors where they don't necessarily take open orders. Some do, some don't. But it's more of this is what you're going to get. We're going to calculate based on spend. And you have an indication early. And I personally love it because it gives me a good gauge of what I'm going to get across the entire gamut of distribution. And everybody does things a little bit differently. I know we're in a different area of spend cycle with each different distributor because some give you a lot of opportunities to increase spend, some not so much, some are limited, and then some are just limited, in general with the products that they sell outside of TCGs that you may or may not carry. Not every distributor carries Magic. So, not every distributor uses other spend to count toward Pokemon, or other spend to count toward Magic, or to Bandai, for example. Because One Piece is starting to go crazy. The same with Flesh and Blood. The High Seas set coming out. Yeah, everything's. I don't want to say it's getting a little toppy, but a rising tide's lifting all boats. So that being said, the original indication I got in speaking to folks in the industry was, and I'm just going to stick to the Elite Trainer boxes because, since there's no booster boxes, we'll just narrow it down to one. It's two different SKUs. There's a Black Bold ETB, the White Flare ETB, and they are in 10 unit cases, as far as I know, as far as all the postings are, where it's 10 of black in one SKU and 10 of white in another SKU. So there's nothing crossing. The sets aren't crossing. It is a completely different set and a completely different item. That being said, what I've mentioned multiple times early on, and this was before I had any information or tangible information about what the allocations look like, is that Pokemon, the supply of ETBs from Pokemon was about 150% of what they were for the first wave of Prismatic. However, it's two SKUs instead of one. So even though the whole pie is 150%, you can cut that to 75% and 75% for each. So there's only, the easy way to look at it is there's 75% of Black Bolt is what they got for all Prismatic evolutions, and 75% of White Flare. So the individual SKUs are more rare. However, the overall pie is bigger. So that being said, what I'm seeing early on, and again, I think when I get to some of my larger distributors, these numbers might change, but the numbers that we're seeing, and again, these are very, very preliminary, is about 2 to 2.5 times. Now, again, like I said, we're buying everything, whether it's at market, under market. We can make money, we can't make money, because unfortunately, in my mind, if you're not buying that stuff, somebody else is, and you're falling behind. And with the price of everything continuing to move up, and in my view, a lot of the older stuff, I don't think there's a whole heck of a lot of risk for it to plummet, if you will. I may go down 10, 15%. but I'm not super concerned about that. And the new stuff is going to get printed. It's going to get printed heavy, but again, in my opinion, it's going to start with ME1 in September, which is a new series. So that being said, like I said, 2 to 2.5 times what we've gotten, and again, this is in total. So if we separate them out, it's about the same as prismatic, maybe a little bit more. And again, we're coming from a strong place of spend. Some of the bigger, massive stores have gotten cut to feed some of the smaller stores, so their spend is inherently down. So the way the math works is that the denominator is what it is. The numerator is getting smaller as a percentage of the whole, so those are going to shrink. So hopefully this keeps up, and I would imagine it's going to be the same across all distributors, in which case I think there is going to be a reasonably healthy supply of this out there. Now, we can look at the price on TCG Player, which don't mean anything. We don't know what the cards are, but if I had to guess, this set's probably, and again, I could be totally wrong, this set's going to probably be between $65 and $75 per ETB at release. If I had to guess, it may be a little bit lower. It might be a little bit higher. It's going to come down to obviously the cards in the set. But when it comes to hype versus prismatic, I think it's a notch less. And then the fact that you do have a more significant supply, and then you have two different options to choose from, which is both devious and genius at the same time. Because now you're going to have to choose. You want to buy black, you want to buy white. You can only buy one of the two at any point in time. So, you create options in the market. You no longer create a bottleneck of demand squeezing the supply of one product. So it works on so many different levels and so many different degrees. But that being said, I'm extremely optimistic that there is a fairly significant amount of product coming to market. And this is something that I thought was actually going to happen with Destined Rivals. It didn't. For this set, I wasn't quite sure, just because it's specially set, and they haven't reprinted ETBs in so long. I don't know if they were going to kick it up or not kick it up. So that was a little bit of an unknown. But now we are fairly certain that for the September set, there's going to be a significant increase in supply of those of product coming out there. Now, what's going to be interesting to see is, are they going to do what they did with the tail end of Sword and Shield, and going into Q4 of this year, Q1 of next year, they drop a very, very large reprint of SV1 through SV4 before they rotate out. I would love that, quite honestly. I don't know if it's going to happen. They would kind of be dumb not to if they had the ability to. But it'll be interesting to see. So anyway, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, and see you tomorrow.